Hey there again, everybody. This is Chaos back with another video today. This is a video sort of in response to the feedback that I got in the last series of videos that I've shown. Not particularly on YouTube or on Twitch, but there's been some feedback on Reddit that the last set of videos required a lot of gear. And it was kind of shocking because 2.0 and ROS is basically based off of the fact that you get loot change and legendaries. So I presented sort of an end game build guide for the
Want to
Hammer of the
find
Ancients
more
Barb
gold,
and where
brother?
people would want to
Maybe I'll
advance.
leave with you next
But
time.
it wasn't as well received. There was just way too much gear requirement. So I took that feedback upon myself as a challenge, and I proposed it actually to a couple of my clanmates to see if they would be interested in joining me in doing the same thing. Because we always want to, go ahead and show people different ways that you could tackle the game. So you could go ahead and farm the legendaries and do the things that you want to do. So this is one thing that I've set up for myself. So to preface what I'm doing, I'm going to show you guys basically what I'm working with, and I'll rapid fire through my items as usual. And you'll notice one thing, all these items are yellow. So as a part of the challenge that I'm doing, I told myself, well, you know what? If we're going to go ahead and require gear that basically anybody can get, I limited myself in the gear choices that I have, right? So everything is Loot 2.0, including the weapon, as you can see, is pretty abysmal. Any auction house two-hander will probably beat this out flat, by tons of damage. So for any of you that's following the guide, your damage will increase by using just a different weapon. And then the rings that I have are not optimal, but we'll get down to the breakdowns of these. These items are either all found during my gameplay and or crafted. So there's no auction house purchase items in this set. I did this specifically to show people that you can farm for yellow items and be successful. So here's my stats right now. So you're looking at about 6k armor, almost 600 resist, so it's pretty close to the 10-1 ratio that I always try to strive for. And there's really no picking. I mean, I still would value resist over anything else, right? So life is at 73k. Life per second, this is of course my biggie. This is with the Templar, and this is pre-buffed, um, and everything else. So now I limit myself not only in this. The goal initially was to actually make a set work in T3 quite efficiently, and I was pleasantly surprised how well a good set of yellow gear can take you. So what I've done is I also limited myself 200 levels of Paragon. So for those of you that are not there yet, sorry, you're going to have to go a little bit further to get the exact same results. But for those of you that are over, well, good to know that you don't have to be much more than 200, which is a pretty quick accelerated path to get to. And if you just put in enough time and effort into it, you will eventually reach this goal. And the reason why I went with 200 Paragons is because of the skill set. You get 50 points once you reach 50, so you get your first maximum set of skills. And I really did this just to balance out movement speed. So I have the maximum movement speed, so I'm not boring anybody. And these are the rest of the tabs that I'm working with. Okay, and I'll get more in detail with that as well. Here's the build. Now, I'm going to show you guys what my regular routine would be is to go to Leorix and kill a mob. This is T4. I've done this as high as T5, although I don't think T4 and T5 this is necessarily like fast in most people's standards. In my opinion, most people will
Seems
be
we
happy with playing
just
a
missed.
level where you could one-hit white mobs. This is getting pretty close to there. Now, do keep in mind this is all yellow gear. This is just a mix of everything that I've had so far. So this is perfect as I don't have to run through the entire game or the entire Leorix area just to show you guys.
Shields recharging.
Now, I am not using Superstition with this particular build at the moment. That would actually help me out immensely, but because I am not, it is actually going to be a little bit more difficult, but nothing that you can't really overcome. Once again, I don't think this is something where I would say you're farming and owning T4 with, but as you can see, it's totally viable.
I'm not ready yet.
And Vortex is one of the harder things to kill. Now I could tell you right now though, this isn't gonna own, like I said, this content. I fought multiple different times. I fought like I would say 5 to 10 warm-up fights before feeling confident enough that I could handle the content. And some packs like Jailer, because I don't have any legendaries to really deal with, like my ice climbers in my regular build,
Battery recharging.
to actually deal with that stuff.
Not enough fury.
It's a lot harder for me to actually get away from things like that, like Jailer, Vortex, Fire Chains, Frozen, like things like that really, really kills you. But I'm thinking that's probably, evident, or not evident, but it's self-explanatory, for most. Now that was one of those fights where I used about 3 potions. Usually it doesn't have to result to that. So what I will do is, you guys can fast forward past this. I'll probably put a timestamp. If you guys don't want to see a second fight, I will try to do a second fight for us, just so we get a better representation of what I'm trying to do here.
Not ready yet.
Let's just get some big cluster of white mob or something. There we go. There we go. That's always fun to see. So that's really the reason why I do hammer the ancients. So when you get large clusters like that, and do recognize that, hammer the ancients is my primary attack. There is really no other attack in this build. Oh, so this is Vortex Fire Chains. This is probably not even worth trying, but whatever. I'll die. And then after I get done with this, then I could go ahead and show us, the build setup, the gear, stuff like that.
Need more time. I need fury.
I'm actually surprised I'm lasting this long, but whatever.
I'm badly hurt.
That was bad positioning there. Okay, so I actually got through the second mob without incident. That was quite surprising, and it was actually decently fast. Okay, so you seen the 2 mob kills basically, so I'm gonna go port back to
I am
town as I
returning
don't
to
want to kill
town.
the rest of the map off to start talking. So let's go take a look closely again at the gear that I picked up, what I prioritized, and how I got to this point, right? So as you can see, my damage is sitting around 80,000. This is buffed with Battle Rage, and 800,000 toughness, and this is buffed with Warcry, and of course I use Invigorate. Once again, I do value regen a lot, and it just brings results. So that's just something that I do. And the pre-buff stats, you see 70k, 69 or 690,000. And so basically what I done was I made it a point to not use lifesteal, of course. Using 2.0 items, you really can't do that. So, no auction house items here. The weapon, two-hander as well. Two-handers, in my opinion, I just love Hammer the Ancients. And the way that
Please take me with you,
Hammer the Ancients
spiritual
works
guide.
without
I will be
reduction gear is
returning.
really hard to do if you don't have something that's slow attacking. So this guy here is not even 1 attack per second, it's 0.94. And the damage range from upper levels at 1200. Now my scorn sits at 1700 regularly, so I lost like 500 per attack, on top of all the crit damage that I lost as well. So this one here doesn't have any crit damage applied to it. Really wish the increased attack speed would have been actually uh, damage percentage, but you're gonna have to make do. This was a crafted item, so this item here sits at right about 1,000 DPS. It's gonna make do for my challenge, and like I said, if you just up this item here from like the auction house, this build entirely can take you through T4. I mean, the kill speed was got a little hairy for me when I was killing those mobs earlier. And then you have this guy here, Union Impunity. This is actually my Templar ring. So you can see it's really, EHP oriented. Not ideal for what I'm doing. I figure I actually have way too much toughness for this build and not enough DPS. So everywhere where I could like, sacrifice Vit for more damage, I'm willing to do so. And that just speeds up the fight a little bit. I've done T5 content with this as well. This is my first recording of the day. In fact, the first minute that I played, I started recording this. So I got about 30 minutes of practice in yesterday, trying to make a video and it didn't work out. So I'm doing it first thing this morning, which is a little out of the ordinary for me. Now, these are found gloves once again. So this is something that I found just waltzing through KD2 with my regular build. These are really attack-oriented gloves, and the reduced cost on the resources is really nice. So these are really, really good yellow gloves. I just kept them because bifectas that have CC and CHD are really hard to come by. So I actually, I kept this just because, and it worked out great for me because I'm making this build right now. Shoulders, nothing out of the ordinary, just strength, vit, resist, overpowers, not even used. I could throw overpower in, but I'll explain the build part later. This is a helm where I actually found as well, running through Keep Step 2, and basically this guy here I actually handed down to other Barbs, and I requested for it back, or I was given it back just to make this video. This chest was crafted, spent about 13 million crafting these guys just to see what kind of rolls that they will come up with. And basically, I had chests that were better than this already. This is just an experiment, spent about 13 mil making these, and I kept the best one, which I used in this video. So once again, it's pretty interesting. This is a found belt. Once again, with yellows, there's not much you can do. Just max out on EHP with the belt. These are actually my main pants. The barbs that, or the barb that I regularly use has these main pants, and this is actually an entirely different barb. I got two of them that are up to 60, so I use this for like fun builds and alternate gear and stuff like that. So these are actually my main pants. These pants are good enough to actually be my main, so you guys know that, I need legendary
I
pants on my regular
understand.
build.
Not for everyone.
And then the biting
Give it a
talons,
try,
or
and you won't
talons,
go
these
back.
guys here just hammer the ancients damage. As you can see, hammer the ancients damage. Don't know why I forgot to mention that. In the helm and the boot spots are the two places where you can get this effects. And this effects is really what's going to take you away from, worrying too much about the DPS numbers. Because with yellow items, you're really not going to get that far. So these two guys are important to get you past that. Now, this is a crafted amulet. This amulet here has fire damage, crit chance, and that was mainly the two most important things for Hammer the Ancients build. Attack speed, once again, can be um, crit hit damage that would actually help out a lot more. Because, I mean, with all this attack speed increase going from like
Need
0.90
more
to like
time. Let's
1.03, it's
finish
not
this
really a
quick.
huge deal. And this, along with the bracers, these are my alternate bracers on my main bar. So, these are really good yellow items to begin with that I usually just keep around anyways. And this one here, I'm waiting for ROS. If I could re-roll that attack speed to crit hit damage, guess what? This is going to be my new amulet going into ROS. So once again, the fire damage will synergize with Hammer the Ancients with Smash. And that's the reason why these two are really, really good items for this build. And you must hunt for something like this, to achieve the same level of damage. And then this is a ring that I found. Once again, it's attack speed. It's a shame because I got no crit hit damage on both of my ring slots, right? And then basically, I only have it for my bracers, my helm, and my amulet. So those are the three crit slots right now that I have. This is not giving me crit, but what it's giving me is regen. Once again, it's just the best ring that I found. So this is by far not optimized, and it can still be polished more. If I use the auction house, honestly speaking, you'd probably see me do even higher level content. Am I would say like, is T6 available or viable with this? It might be rough, and I think your elite kill times are way too long and you die most times. But 5 is definitely doable already in this state, so I wouldn't be surprised with like really fleshed out gear that you might even be able to handle T6 in all yellow. So once again, that's gonna be the items. I'm gonna switch to Paragon really quick because this is usually really quick to get through. Once again, I only picked this because I didn't value movement speed on the gear. I really needed the gear to carry me through because um, 50 points of vitality is basically 250, right? You could get more on a single roll of vitality on a boot than you can with movement speed. And movement speed, you can only get 12 at a time anyways. So it's more important to build your EHP off of gear and allow Paragon points to build your movement speed. And second tab, critical hit damage. As you can see, I'm already sorely lacking from my crit chance already. But because this build could be used to just like farm whatever, white mobs or like lower level elites. The crit hit chance is made up for by the number of things that you can gather. So bloodshed procs with the hammer of the ancients will make up for the lack of critical hit chance.
I don't even
Single
have to
target would
look,
suffer a little bit,
really.
but this will
Stop
fuel
walking away!
your damage a lot better with tight clusters, and your build is designed for that. So tight clusters, critical hit damage is a little bit more important. Now I've already explained in other videos why this is a bad ratio. because for 50 points you get 5%, and that becomes basically a worse ratio for Hammer the Ancients than if you put 50 points in this and you actually get 10% crit hit damage or crit chance versus this one here is 50 points for 5. So this is a bad ratio for Hammer the Ancients purely because you get crit chance with the Fury Globe. And then defense here, I put life regen. As I said, I value life regen quite a bit, and this is what allows me to stay in fights, ignore a lot of things, and go from there. And your mileage may vary. You know, if you guys feel like you got the perfect formula for whatever, you could try it out. It's just my opinion. I think this is a better combo for me. And in resource cost reduction, this is once again, it's just the fuel hammer of the ancients because it is my primary attack. If you play solidly, you should not hear anything about like say out of fury and stuff like that, right? So once again, the reduction allows me to play with the Hammer of the Ancients and primary without any reduction gear or legacy reduction gear. So this is actually a build that's viable. You could run whatever with it and things like that. So the skill sets, Hammer of the Ancient Smash, nothing new. You know, I'm not going to go into very long details of why this is in here. Um, this right here is kind of like my Monk Cyclone Strike. If I was to make a Monk, Cyclone Strike is so good, I'll probably use that skill in just about everything. And same with Hammer of the Ancients. This is kind of like that skill for me with the Barb. So this is the reason why I run with it. Now I could do other things with my character. I could run Whirlwind and weapon throw and things like that. It's just the results. This is so far the best results that I've gotten out of Barb. Threatening Shout, Demoralize. You guys see me use this in other videos as well. So once again, this is to basically allow you to pull everything around you, reduce the damage by 20%, allowing you to do higher level content. And also, it's going to proc Brawler for you by bringing everybody around. And it's going to give you tighter clusters for Hammer of the Ancients. But in this build, as you can see, I have a lot of generators built in. This is also going to set up Ground Stomp. And there's a big synergy there, but I'll explain that when I get to Ground Stomp. So Demoralize Threatening Shout is a very good skill to have in this kind of a setup. Merciless Charge, once again, this is going to be great for escapes. It has innate cooldown, so it really helps to get basically, as many charges as you can, especially like you saw me fighting the Vortex Fire Chain mob. It just allows you to, every time you get Vortex, charge back out. And usually they will have enough of a cooldown where this will come back by the time they Vortex you again, so you're never really stuck in a bad situation. And charge in general breaks once again all the CC stuff like frozen, knockback, vortex. Like you cannot be controlled when you're in the animation of your furious charge. Now, 2.0.3 just dropped as of yesterday on Tuesday, the 10th or 11th. I don't remember the dates now. But basically, with Furious Charge, you can actually charge through wallers now. So that's actually pretty cool. So before, when you would get wall trapped, I always wish I had Leap with sort of a similar cooldown reduction, but as of today, I don't know if this is going to stay, but Furious Charge actually goes through walls. So the biggest, I would say, complaint that I would have with the low mobility build is now rectified, and Furious Charge is by far like one of the best escape skills that you have on a Barb. I've been told that Whirlwind and other movement skills also allow you to do this, like Spirit Walk as well. Once again, I'm not sure if this is intended or if this is a bug, but as of today, if you fought Waller, Furious Charge will actually get you through walls until further notice. So Ground Stomp. Now, Ground Stomp is in here purely for a couple of reasons, for generation and also to keep you safe. So we talked about Threatening Shout earlier and how this synergizes with Ground Stomp, right? Now, Ground Stomp, I usually like using Wrenching Smash, but if I use Wrenching Smash with Ground Stomp, I will only get 30, or actually, no, I will get 15 Fury instead of 30. So I will lose half of that Fury, which is good for like one and like maybe two Hammer of the Ancients in the meantime. And this is actually huge because with Ground Stomp, Wrenching Smash, you bring everything in toward you, and you would think that would be good, right? But given that the 15 Fury, in my opinion, just plays too big of a role, and of course, people go, oh, I can use stamina in here, but I really like the innate cooldown just for the escapability. And I already have a lot of generators in here. As you can see, when I was spamming the skills, Fury wasn't an issue, but most of it is due part to Ground Stomp. Now, with the Templar, you actually get 33 Fury when using the Ground Stomp. So that should be enough to feel, maybe one and a half Hammer the Ancients outright. Um, but Threatening Shout would usually lure everything around you, and Ground Stomp will be able to stun them and give you more fury without you having to pull them in anymore because they will actually be attracted to you. Now this works really well on KD2 as well. Like I said, I presented this challenge to other clanmates of mine, and then we actually ran a two-player game through, I think it was T4, and then with a little bit of a build switch, and we did T5 as well. And this works wonders for like quillback mobs. You can actually drag them through a doorway when they're all funneled, and it ground stomp the entire group and then hammer the ancients for the win. So I don't use Wrenching Smasher just for the extra Fury gen, as I think this is the safest spot to give up any rune effects to gain more Fury. So I chose this plus this synergy to really get me through the day. And then, of course, Bloodshed. You guys know why these two are together. I'm not going to explain that again, as most of my other videos do a better job of explaining it. So please watch those. And then Warcry Invigorate just for the regen. Once again, now most people go, well, you could put Charge in here as well, right? So 50 instead of 20 Fury, and that will give you way more than Ground Stomp. Yes, in effect, that's true, but this is a 20-second cooldown. This is a 12, so this will come back a lot more readily available, and I'll get you 60 in 24 seconds. Well, this will get you 50 in 20. So, it's about the same ratio. But like I said, I don't think losing Invigorate for more stat or more Fury is gonna make this a good choice. So I stuck with something that really helps me sustain versus something that just really clusters more, which I really don't need. So, these are the skills that I chose and gone with. I think it works out great. And I think if you guys watch my other videos and, you guys probably have seen this coming. So, this should be no surprise, but when you don't have reduction gear, put in more generators, right? So now this is the passive slot. What makes this build work is really the bloodthirst, because I lost 3-piece set, and I know from playing extensively on the PTR that the IK 3-piece set was really the key to going into higher torments, because HP for Fury Spent is really one of the best heals that you get in the game as a Barb. And monks will have like say a life per spirit spent, and that comes out to basically about the same thing, except for this particular passive here scaled. And you see heal amount is increased 1% of your health globe heal bonus, right? And on the bottom here, you see my health globe healing bonus is at 13,000. So this means that you actually get another 136 healing bonus for every fury spent. And the way that I stacked that was, I believe the chest had it, the shoulders had it, and these are secondary effects, by the way, guys. And I believe the amulet. So these are the three pieces that got me my 13,000. And if you spent the time to hunt for the gear that would have it, right? Like say lose the gold pickup radius and get another one of those. For every 4,000 you gain another 40. Right now I'm at a point where I'm at 251 Fury spent. The three-piece IK set gives you what is it? 289 per Fury spent. I am nearly at that level without the IK set. So the three-piece, once again, the important part of it was really this. And if I find really good gear in the future, I might actually just go with Bloodthirst and drop the IK set in general, and see where that takes me. Especially if I find like say a Cinder Code or something like that. So this is something that you can easily stack into the hundreds. I don't know how well it'll scale into ROS, but at this moment, that's what really feels Bloodthirst. And of course, unforgiving, because when you're ever Fury starved in general, this is a godsend. This is a staple for any Fury starved builds, and you're not using any generic generators for. And Brawler is really the question mark here, right? Because I'm doing higher level content. I would rather have Superstition just for the damage reduction. As you see in the first fight with all that plague around and getting hit by Horde, Superstition would have done a better job of mitigating that damage for me. Except for also at the same time, when I'm running higher torment, I don't want to bore you guys with a 3-minute fight. So having Brawler in there, and the fight might have actually been 3 minutes anyways, having Brawler in there just allows me to kill things faster. But normally, depending on the level of content that you're doing, Superstition and a Brawler are going to be the key. So those are my regular staples anyways. So I just swapped out one of my staples for something that's a necessity, and this is the way the build is made up. So this is once again, me doing Torment 4 with all yellow gear. So now there should be no complaints about I need to find gear for a build to work and I can't farm efficiently. This is something that every single Barb could get into. And you could do Torment 4, Torment 1 if you don't want to deal with the headaches, farm Torment 1 all day and actually get your legendaries that way. So this can help you to achieve that. Um, and as far as like the criticism that I would think that I would receive from this build is obviously, well, the kill speed was really slow, or you aren't doing Torment 6. Well, that's what the last series of videos are for. So every single complaint that you have about this build, It's rectified when you get the gear. That's why Loot 2.0 is Loot 2.0. And you will see a lot of these generators, which doesn't help DPS, will go away and you will do more damage over time. So if you have any questions whatsoever, this is not the last build that I'm going to do that's a little quirky. I am going to work with more yellow gear to try to develop more basic beginner builds for people that are struggling or have just gotten back into Diablo. So, keep it tight on my channel and you guys know where to find me. So thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye.